This meeting is being recorded.
What's going on, everybody? It's your homeboy Eric Short hanging out in his man room as usual. Got a little bit of a different background going around here. Not gonna talk about that, but here in my man room, and here's my homeboy Les Miller for the E and L Sports Talk Show. What's going on, Les?
Yo, man, everything is good, man. Yo, as long as we got Brother Blue in the audience, man, we good to go, man.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
this we got our guest today, man. It's Henry Blue Dillard, man, from Brooklyn. We back in the day played, with him, legendary skill sets his brother brought to the table, I tell you. So what's going on, Blue? How you doing?
Hey, it's good to be with you guys, man. It's always good to be with family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you, man.
Yes, sir.
Tell the audience about Blue Dillard, man. Henry Blue Dillard, excuse me.
Well. Basically, I'm Brooklyn. I mean, everything about me is Brooklyn, as you guys know. My basketball journey started at about the age of 10, 11, where basically, like everybody else, all we did was go to the park all day. We were in the park from sun up to sundown, and I think that's where my skills started to really develop. And also I had the blessings of having some great coaches. I had some great coaches and great guys that played with me. So it was all part of who I am, who
Right.
I became. I started playing about 10, 11 years old. And basically when I went to junior high school is when I really started to learn how to play. I had a great coach who became my mentor, Mr. George Gaffney, and he pretty much just let me go, which was a great thing to do for a kid at that age, because at 11 and 12, you don't want to, you ain't trying to hear too much structure and trying to figure stuff. You want to figure stuff out on your own, and he kind of just let us go,
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I started playing summer league with the Restoration Flyers, as you guys know. I started playing with Gil Reynolds, and that's where I really started to get the structure and learn the game, because his thing, as you guys know, was no nonsense, And the funny thing about it is that when I played for him, it was a thing where, we really couldn't stand the guy. Most of the players couldn't stand the guy, but we always won, And he taught us how to play the game, and he taught us little things too, things like being punctual, things that can carry over into becoming a man. You had to be somewhere. He taught us about finishing, taking care of business. We used to have notebooks where we would take notes at practice and write down different things that he showed us, and then he would actually test us on those things. So, that's when I really started to learn the nuances of the game,
Mm-hmm.
And having played with him during the summer. And then when from junior high school, I went to Bishop Loughlin. Bishop Loughlin is where we actually ultimately won the city champ, but we started out in a place where we weren't winning too many games, but the progression was there,
Mm-hmm.
So each year we got better and better and better. And we ultimately, we were able to win it all with the great players that ultimately guys became got better as time went on. We gelled, we were always together, and we liked each other, which was important as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we were kind of, and you guys know, winning was always the main thing. We weren't, it wasn't about individual and who would get the most points. It was all about, just coming home with the goal. So there's a funny story, Les. I didn't know that you had went to Brooklyn Tech. We almost became teammates, man, because I was actually going to go there,
Okay.
But what happened was I had got the coach from Trinity High School had saw me playing when I was in the 8th grade, and he kind of steered me to go there, and I wound up going there because at that time, the Catholic schools was considered to be a little safer than the public schools.
Right.
And my parents was like, if you got an opportunity to go there, that's where you're going,
Mm-hmm.
So I wound up going to Bishop Loughlin, and it was a great experience, but I actually had the opportunity. I actually met my wife there. So
Okay.
it don't get no better than that, right?
There we go.
And
There
win
we
the
go.
city championship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and from then on, I went to Wagner College, and on Staten Island, where
Mhm.
we actually, my last year we actually won. We went to the NIT, but the 3 prior years were tough because we actually were coming from. We started out as Division. When I got there, they were Division 1, but the prior year they were Division 3. So they made a major jump from Division 3 to Division 1. So
Right.
the first couple of years were pretty lean, but my last year we actually were able to put together a nice little team, and we made it to the NIT.
Yeah,
But it all started with with Brooklyn. It all started with growing up and finding a ball in any kind of shape with bumps in it, anything, any kind of basketball we could find, and you're just going at it. So
yeah. Well, who coached you at Wagner?
At Wagner, I started out with my first year was John Goodman, and he was there only 1 year. And my second year, PJ Carlesimo came in.
Yeah,
right.
I knew that. I knew the answer to that.
Yeah, he came in and he did a good job in guiding us through those lean years. And then, like I said, my fourth year, we were able to turn it around.
Yeah.
Right. So your senior year, that's when Howard Tompkins was there too, right?
Yeah, Howard Tompkins was there.
Bones.
We had Earl Lewis, Damon Yizer, and Jamie Capaglia was my backcourt mate, and he was our leading. Well, he was our second leading scorer.
Jamie. Yeah, because I played against him because we played y'all, man. Jamie was a good player, man. I like the way he played, man.
He was a good player. That was a wonderful experience too, and it was good to be able to do it at home. Like I didn't have to, lead a state to actually, have some success.
Right. You had Big Willie Davis too, was with you, right?
Yeah, Big Willie, my man. As a matter of fact, Willie was the guy who got me to go there. He was like, he was there before me, and he was like, this, it's a nice place. He had he was there 2 years prior to me. Yeah, he was there 2 years prior to me. Willie, my man.
Yeah, he's a good man too, man. It's funny. Look at the triangle of connection, man. That. Like Willie is a cool brother. He's like another, George Merton guy, but I end up playing with him at LIU. He's my roommate for a while, So we're all connected, man, for Russell. Yeah, me and Russ. So we're all connected to each other, man. And even down to even if like playing against each other in less and bones, like that relationship. And then if you go back up a second, PJ Carlesimo, we're all connected because I played against them, and I'm 2-0 against him. So but then another connection, is the high school stuff with Lester George, because he played at Iona, right? Didn't you play with Lester George at Laughlin?
Yeah, Les was actually, it was big when Les came, because what happened was Les was at New High School. And New High School had actually closed, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was my junior year when they closed, and they were one of the top teams in the conference. So they were beating up on everybody because they were located on Stuyvesant, on Lewis and Pulaski, I think. Yeah. So what kind of players they had. So
right.
It's not just that. Another connection, but it's not. I'm sorry to cut you off, Blue. I'll let you finish, but it's not just that. We practiced it with George too.
Exactly. So the opportunity to get some guys from my neighborhood that I know to actually come to my school was big. I'm like, oh man, we get a couple cats here and we can make some noise. And then Les was the main guy. We had a couple other cats that were, major contributors, but Les took us over the top. He took us over the top.
And then, he goes over to Iona. And we play against him again in that environment, and then he turns out to be a pretty decent ref later on after the career years are over, and you would never know, you see a guy refereeing and the guy has skills like playing, and people don't understand that or know that,
Right. Les was a good player. Les was a real good player.
Yeah. So your experience at Wagner was pretty cool to you?
Yeah, it was pretty good because to be able to like I said, they were Division III, and to go from Division III and then 4 years later to be playing in NIT was was big because, and I like to think that I was a part of that. But the thing was, no one really expected us. No one, and to me, it was a big deal for them to even think that they could make that major jump. Because, usually Division I schools, they come from a Division II level,
Right,
But to
that's
go from
true.
Division III was tough. I'm like, and at the time, I was just hooping. I didn't know, the division stuff didn't really register
That's
with me.
true.
It was just a matter of I was going to hoop. But it hit home once we started getting beat down. When my first couple of years, I'm like, whoa, this is tough, man. Especially coming from an environment where we won all the time. Summer leagues and Easter tournaments, we always came home, on top. So to experience that was kind of tough. But in hindsight, looking back, going through it is nice because you can say you actually was part of something that started from the bottom. So,
but you got exactly. I was just going to say that it's like not only the fact that what you did, at the end of it, there was a climb. But like you said, I was part. I led that climb, or I was part of that climb, and then that transition, which is hard. Bad enough, it was a Division II school, but Division III school to endure constantly, man. And if not even looking from your eyes, look at the eyes of PJ Carlissimo. He came in there and the climb he made, and look where he ended up going as well.
Right. Exactly.
And people don't give him credit. And his comparable, because I'm 3-0 against the other guy that same thing, was Mike Krzyzewski, because he coached that Army. And when we play LIU, they never beat us, man.
Right.
And so I'm 3-0 against them, but look how he declined. And as soon as he went better, he went into Duke, and look what happened, man. He's like revered as one of the best coaches. So that climb.
What's funny, that the conference that we were in at that time was called the East Coast Conference. It wasn't the NEC, and we had Army was in there. We had Boston University. So Army had Krzyzewski. Boston University had Rick Pitino. Iona had Valvano. So all these guys, and then Calhoun was at Northeastern. Right. So this was all in our conference. So it was like
and Fordham with Penders.
With Penders. So who would think that, down the line, these guys would all become big names in the game,
Hall of Famers. Yep.
Every single one of them you mentioned, man. And I forgot about some of the other ones, man. You're right, man. It's incredible, man. And and look, they went and solidified, their place in college basketball, like Les said, as legends, man.
Yeah.
And it's really unbelievable that we were part of that. And people, the players' path's going in other directions than the coach's path. But but you're in those crosshairs.
Right.
You participated and were part of those crosshairs. You were in some of those battles, man.
And, the funny thing is, when I graduated from Wagner, I went to grad school there, and I coached with PJ. I was a graduate assistant there, and that's when I realized that I didn't want to do that, man, because I was out on the road, I'm recruiting, and the problem with recruiting was I was comparing guys to guys that played with me. So it was one of those things where PJ would say, well, this guy's good. He'll be a nice fit. And I'm like, he's all right. But coming from a place where I'm coming from with Bernard King and George Johnson, I'm like, so it was kind of hard to go hard and say, yeah, that guy, we got to get that guy. Because I'm like, he's nice, but he ain't from Brooklyn.
Right.
He ain't from Brooklyn.
Yeah. And PJ's not seeing what you see.
He's not seeing what I'm seeing. Exactly.
Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah, man. I think
so Blue, man. So growing up, man, like who did you try to pattern your game after? Who did you like watch and say, I can do that, or I want to incorporate that into my game? What kind of players, whether it was pro, college, or in the park?
Well, it was pretty much the pro and college level. On the college level, I used to love watching Austin Carr, because Austin Carr was the man at Notre Dame.
Number 22. Yep.
He did everything. Like he scored and he did, he ran the team. And then with the Knicks at the time, everybody was a Knicks fan. So Clyde was Clyde was my guy, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I came to find out was that scoring the basketball takes a lot of work, man. And I'm not. It's one of those things where I just didn't have that scoring mentality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as running the show and making sure guys were in the right position and setting guys up, you know, that's why I felt my niche was, and just knowing the game, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Because you were definitely, man, because you like set the table for every team that I every time I saw you play. I said, man, I need to play with a guy like that. You know, he's gonna make my life easy. You know, so it's like just make sure you got the hands and
right,
you looking.
right,
you know what I
right.
mean? And yeah.
Right.
And that's funny because you know, like Les says, like you based on the people that trained us how to play, we know what kind of comparable player is going to help me be a better player.
Right.
What is that player like? All the other 4 positions on the court. What kind of player do I want around me at the center spot? If I'm a forward, if I'm a guard, you know, and in Les's situation, like he's looking at the guard, so this is the kind of guard I want to play with. And as a forward or a small forward or a swing, the same thing. I need to have a guard that knows what he's doing, pays attention, ego, no ego. He's kind of like the coach on the court, but and doing what he does. If he has to score, he can score. But his mindset is to keep the train running down the track.
Right, exactly.
You know?
And my mindset was always to make sure guys were in the right spot and encourage guys. You know, like the thing was, if I saw that we came down 3 or 4 times and Les ain't touch it yet, I would make it a point to let him touch it, even if he ain't going to shoot. Just get him on the box and get it back, just to keep him involved. And that was a big part of it because guys, you down on the box, you working, you banging. You know, you don't want to just be getting cardio in. You want to be, you know, you want to be able to at least touch it once in a while.
Yeah.
So I would always say, you know, let the big fella touch it, let him feel it. You know, but once it would only be from a certain spot though, because I wouldn't want you to be out there fooling around with it at half court. That's my territory.
But no, you're right though, because you know what happened to me, man. When I was coaching my daughter at a higher level of players around her, like she was saying, like Dad, the girls coming back on the big players that I'm playing with now, they're yelling at me on their way back. Why didn't you get me the rock? You know, or Amanda, and that's all I did. You have those conversations as they're running past you, you know, to get back on D. Like, yo, Blue, give me yo, E, man, what's going on? So that's what supports what you're saying. There's those conversations you have with teammates that they're saying, basically saying, I'm not involved.
Right.
You know, I'm not involved. You're not involved with me in this, man. You know.
But I'm gonna tell you something, man. The better point guards are the ones saying, "Yo, go down, man. I'm gonna get you the ball."
Right, because on the way back, the conversation the guard is saying is.
I don't have to say that to him. He's gonna say, "Yo, Les, post up, man. I'm looking for you right now." You know what I mean? Right. That's the difference when you real point is like, "Yo, man, I know, man. You ain't touched the ball. About keep getting the rebounds, man, but I'm gonna get you one right now."
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Well, and the other thing was too was I used to always tell guys, you got to tell me where you want it too. Like, you know what I mean? So you gonna go on the box, and depending on how he's playing, you tell me which way you want it. You want it on your left side, wherever you want, and I'll get it to you. So there was always interaction because they made him feel like the big guy knows that he's involved as well. Like, I'm not making all the decisions. I want you to do well, but you got to help me by telling me where you want it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But Blue, on the other side, right? What it is this, like, and I try to tell my young kids when I'm teaching them, right? It's like, if I got my hand up here, right, but you throw the ball over here, it's because you see behind me. You know this guy's playing me there. So what that means is that I gotta be ready all the time. So I can't get mad at you because you didn't throw it here, because you see what's behind me. Right. You saw that, yo, this guy's playing.
I'm leading you that way.
I'm leading you that way. Yep.
But take this for both of y'all. Look at what you see today.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch the games and you see the guy asking for the rock, I saw it this morning, you know, asking for the rock here, guys looking. And it's like he's showing us as viewers that he's not capable of making that pass. because he doesn't make it.
Right.
And the big man is like, and I see the response, hey, 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 hey. And then when the ball is swung, put your hand down and you're like that disappointment. You see the body language of the disappointment. You didn't throw it here.
That's a good point, because a lot of times we all think that the guy that's going to make the pass, that he's selfish. He just wants to go. He ain't really thinking about giving to him. But a lot of times they've never been taught how to feed the post.
Yeah.
So it's not like they don't want to give it to him. They just don't know how to give it to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. It's like if he's never been taught, he ain't going to know. You know?
That's true. That's true.
And plus, they don't talk to each other. So they don't have that conversation. Where do you want the ball? Blue, put it here. Because they're not talking to each other, because it's like this. Run, threes. And the guy catches it. When he does catch it down low, he doesn't know, like, you're not going to cut through, because it's like, stay out of his way, stay on the 3-point line. So you're not, because if I'm playing you blue and you throw it down low, I'm going to react to the pass and turn. So you're going to miss, you're going to like reposition yourself or cut through, and you're open, right? Give and go. But you stand there because the 3 is more important. And I get it down and like, well, all right, what do I do down here? Did I ever work on post up moves? Like, and then you say the guy doesn't know what to do with the ball. And
he's working in a limited spot, because if the guy's not cutting through, his defense is standing right next to the post player, so he can't really maneuver, because he's got a guy digging, trying to distract them from making his move. So
and the communication and what fixes all of those things, and the kids really don't talk that much anymore. And everything is stand still and wait to see if you can do anything, and if you don't, I'm here to bail you out. Because there's no plays being run. So I give it up and I stand in this spot because this is what I'm supposed to do. You know? And I'm
gonna tell you something, man. Right now, to me, the game has gone so far away from posting up that these guys that post up don't realize that, you know what, I'm gonna be one-on-one, because if you throw me the ball, your man's gonna stay with you because he's thinking about you getting a 3-pointer. Now I got one guy. Come on, man. I'm getting ready to do him. You know, and if the other guy does come, I'm throwing it back out to you. You know, but for the most part, they rather me get the 2 than you get the 3. You know,
And but the guys don't work on post-up plays, so it's so much easier for me to play D. And I see a guy that's 6'3", my size, playing a guy 6'9", and it's like, and you're the 6'3" guys winning that battle of that contact that happens down low. That's crazy to me. And even as far back as not as far back as like Shaq and Tim Duncan, if they get caught with a guy 6'3" down low with him, he's done.
But
not anymore. Huh? What'd you say, Les?
Barbecue chicken. That's what Shaq said. Barbecue chicken. Yep.
And I'm telling him, you better go on him. You got a little mouse in the house. You better go on him. Come on, Les. Go to work, bro.
That's it.
But if Gil is coaching and you don't go on him, you know what's going to happen. You know, but you're not going to be you're not going to be playing for a team like that and not know what to do with the ball. He's not. He's going to. If you don't know how to do something, or in any of those coaches, by the time it's game time and you come in the game, you do know, because he's going to make you know. You know, and that's the other problem. The information is not being shared with players to handle those type of situations. Post up, drop steps, or the Euro step. Oh, I'm gonna show you the Euro step. And it's not a necessary tool when you're in the block. It's a necessary tool, when you're taking a layup.
Right.
But they're not teaching post up moves. And that's a crying shame, man.
But I tell you though, Blue, my only regret, man, is that I didn't get to play with you enough. You know what I mean? Because because I'm like, this guy, this is some other level shit here, And I had the pleasure of playing with a point guard in college that to me was comparable to you. You know what I mean? And to the point where it's funny because he used to kiss my hands. He's like, you got the soft hands, man, because he would throw me shit and I would just, He's our all-time leading assist player, you know, and this is from 1981, you know, and he was just throwing it, I'm catching, and he's like, you make it easy because you make yourself available and you keep your eyes and he's going to pass you the ball. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, this is like blue, man. Come on, man.
Goes both ways, man, because like you mentioned Howard Tompkins. Howard's thing was, I know he gave me one of the best compliments, man. We after I had left, because he was a junior and I was a senior, so I left. We were 21-7 when we made NIT and whatever. We had the whole team coming back, other than me. I was me and my man Earl Lewis, but the majority of the team was coming back, so they were expected to do a lot. So they wound up being like 15 and 14 or something like that. They didn't meet the goals that they wanted.
Right.
So I remember talking to Howard, and I said, "Dude, what happened?" And he was like, "Man, it's easy to catch it and just put it up. But now I'm catching it, and I gotta dance, I gotta dribble So I said, "Okay, I appreciate the compliment," you know, because he was saying all he had to do was, like you said, put himself in position to catch it and put it in. You know, and not that he didn't have the skills to do other things, but he said it was just easier to just catch it and put it in, knowing that when I got into the paint, that he was going to get it. You know?
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't know Bones from New York. I met him when we was playing professionally in France.
Really?
Yes. So we were playing against each other, and he's like, "Yo, where you from?" He said, "Yo, I live in Long Island." I said, "Yo, I'm from Brooklyn, man." He's like, "What?" Yo, and every weekend, you know, because we only played on the weekends, right? So after the game, I'd go, because he was like an hour away from me. I'd go to Nancy, and we hang out, you know, and we do our thing, man. But that was my dude, man.
Yeah,
that was my dude. Yeah.
You know, his son was a good player, too. I think his son was playing overseas. He might still be
playing in Russia.
Right.
He was playing matter of fact, when they had all that shit going on in Russia, I called Bones. I was like, "Yo, man, is your son okay?" Because I don't know if he was still out there. He said, you know, nah, he was okay, you know.
Right.
But making them rubles, man. Yeah. Yeah, man.
But he's not hanging out with Brittany Griner and nothing like that, huh?
Nah, man, nah.
I hope not.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
You know, but and that's funny because I had the experience with Bones, like from LIU playing Wagner, and like it's funny, a guy who learned from somewhere else, and he had the attributes that he probably would have flourished in playing in our era in high school in Brooklyn.
Right.
You know, because he was that kind of guy. He would have done fine, you know. And when you find guys like that, you usually find them in college, like you did with Jerry, right? Leslie, it's like the guard comparable to the guard you played with in high school, you know. And that's good because now you can still do what you know you're good at.
But you know, that goes back to what we were saying earlier, Les. At that time, Brooklyn, everything was all about if a guy wasn't from Brooklyn, you had to really, you know, the confidence level was so high if you had a guy with you from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So you were always compared because the number of great players in Brooklyn at that time was so many. It was so many guys that could play.
Yeah,
that
that's true.
If you went anywhere and the guy was from Brooklyn, that's the guy you was going to take. If you had never seen him play, you didn't even know.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I know when I open this box, these cookies are going to be good because they were made in Brooklyn.
There we go. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's it, man. Yeah.
You know?
And you know, it was weird because when I went to Hartwick, right, a lot of guys like from Jersey City, I'm like, man, fuck y'all motherfuckers, man. Then I realized them guys can play too. Them guys can play too, man. You know?
Yeah, because you were on the lookout, man.
You just look back at during that era, and I think John Rushmore had brought it to my attention, or Fred Moe, one of them had brought it to my attention. At one time, I forget what year it was, but the two leading scorers in the NCAA was Fly Williams and Larry Fogel.
Right.
And you know, these are cats that played with us, and then you say they leading the nation in scoring. Two guys from around the way. You know what I mean?
The way.
Yeah. And I knew it was Larry Fogel was up there, but I forgot that was Fly as well. Because he was lighting it up, man. And but Larry Fogel was crazy. He was like, I mean, he was incredible to me, man. And I was like, I would see him in St. John's, like he was shooting like from out of bounds on the sidelines, like from where the coach stands,
Right.
where Lester Roberts was standing, out of bounds, right there. I see him shooting from right there, right by the edge of the scores table. And I'm like, who, like, what? I was first like, why? Like, why?
Yeah, right.
You know, and
they were only 2 pointers back then.
Yeah.
Right,
but just the range, I'm saying, like, why aren't you getting closer? Because I play for George. He's like better shot, more high percentage. This guy was pulling, but he was making them. But then if he goes by you, he's dunking on you. I mean, it was like everything, man. You know, he had every arsenal. It was kind of like he was a video game player playing in real life. And he had all of the weapons, man. He had all of them. He'd pull out this one, that one. And he led the nation, man.
Led the nation.
That's a feat, man, to be able to do that consistently all year. And nobody challenged the number. It wasn't like somebody was like real close behind him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was his to own and then Fly, and we all know Fly. So I can't even describe that guy either, man. It's
yeah.
You know,
so Blue, man. So tell me about some of the best guys that you play with. I mean, other than me and Eric.
You know, and I was going to say you guys first. You know that. You know, I've had the pleasure of playing with so many great players, man, and to the point where there was games where, and I talk about this a lot, where I was just in awe, and I would just watch guys go to work, and I'm on the floor. You know, it's a thing where you just give it to them and then just say, "Damn, I can't believe he did them like that." You know, you know what I mean? My two guard with Gil, I played with Jeff Houston. Bernard King, of course.
Number one for me.
Yeah, man.
Bernard King. Albert, I played with Albert as well, because Bernard was a year older than me and Albert was a year younger than me. So I played with Albert. Vinnie Johnson, Fred Mobley, John Rushmore, those guys that, you know, guys that aren't nationally known guys, but great players. There's so many guys. I don't want to leave guys out. Dennis West was a guy that played with me with Gil. Russell Saunders.
Russell
Saunders. Russell could go. There was so many guys that I just hate to leave guys out, because there was so many guys in Brooklyn that, well, you know, we used to go from park to park. You could go to any park, and it was, you know, it wasn't a pushover. It was so many great guys that played, man. And one of the differences I think now that I see, you watch kids now, these teams play now. Back then, you had 5 guys playing, but the guys on the bench was just as good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Now you see there's a lot of teams now where they got 6 or 7 guys, and the rest of the guys, the drop off is tremendous, you know?
Right.
But back then, practices were harder than games. You know, it was like it ain't gonna get tougher when when there's referees out there, because we'd already done faced each other, and that was the toughest competition we was gonna have.
Yeah, but it's funny you said that. I could be off by maybe 1 or 2 people, but everybody that you mentioned, and by no fault, I don't think you did it on purpose, but they were all of them came from an organization that was Restoration.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed that you did that.
No, I didn't even notice that. Actually.
That's true. That's true.
Like if you just take those successful programs, and even the average ones, they were very, very good players. Everybody that you mentioned could have been replaced by another organization's guy. So because I'm sitting here and you guys are mentioning, and I'm thinking about the trip to Detroit, and these are all of the guys that went, you know, and I'm like, they were all very, very good players, every single one of them, you know, and it's crazy. There were just too many good basketball players.
Too many good players. I failed to mention my man Wayne Harrison. Wayne Harrison was a beast, man. He was a beast. And you know,
people don't know who Wayne was.
Oh, now you talk about the trip to Detroit. I don't know if you remember, but Dick Vitale wanted everybody on that bus to go to Cooley High. He said,
Yeah,
I'll take everybody. I
I
want
remember.
everybody. He wanted everybody to go to Cooley High.
yes, man. Because I was the youngest person on that bus.
Really?
Yeah, it was me and Albert were. We were like
Right.
turning. We had just turned
That's right.
13.
That's right.
You know, and it's like, and I of everything, of all of that stuff, Les, this is crazy. I remember a lot of stuff from it because I was young and stupid, but I remember Dick Vitale talking, man. Everything he said, because I was in awe, because he was like somebody of some kind of hierarchy in basketball.
Right,
So
right.
he's talking, so I'm like every
Yeah.
word,
Locked in.
and it was just crazy, man. And I mean, it meant something, you know.
Right,
And we, and plus, you know, George and Gil, they were making sure we were paying attention. They if you weren't paying attention, then they found out there would be a problem. So, you know, but we're learning though. That's the thing, Les. There was playing, there was competition, there was a lot of work hard, that all of us experience, but we were learning. People were teaching us this craft.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know?
Very true. Yep.
Yeah,
yep,
and
yep.
we learned, and even our peers, we've learned the game. We've learned to have friendships, and it was really, really crazy times, man.
Well, you talk about friendships, man. We talking. What I've known you guys, what 52, 53 years, something like that.
Yeah. Ain't that scary?
That's crazy. That's
Ain't that scary? Yeah.
We were all, 13, 14 years old when all this was going on.
But we're still talking to each other. It's not like it's not like you live in Canada, Les stayed in France, you know.
Right,
we're still have a venue, thanks to social media, that there's conversations, you know. I've said this numerous times to Les and in our show, that because of social media, it allows us to do this, and you know, stuff that was going on in Brooklyn, like the 50, 40 and over, all that. But like down here, Ashbrook High School, that's where James Worthy played at. I guarantee you, the people that lived there back in the day that played against him in high school, and we used their gym for the camps we used to for a while. And they're not the guys that were back in the day. They don't go there and play in the community. There's no tournaments 50 and over. So these guys are living their lives, and they probably have never seen each other in those 53 years.
Right.
Whereas we've seen, guys, all the time. There's Brownsville Day and, Zoom now. So
right.
It's great because it's as if we never missed a beat.
Right. Exactly. I mean, last night I was telling you earlier, we all got together at Fred's house. It was seven of us just laughing and kicking it. And again, you talking 53, 54 years of knowing each other, man. So that level of comfort is amazing, because I could be anywhere with any of you guys and know that we're good. You know, they talk about
and you represent represent. And this is the proof to that. What was it, 7 years ago, I think it was. I could be wrong, so don't quote me. But LIU, we honoring Riley. Neither one of y'all went to LIU.
Yep.
Y'all were in the gym.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Yep.
That is
y'all
true.
Were on the floor. Y'all came down on the floor.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
That is so true.
And it's weird because if it was like, let's say, Indiana or something like that, other opponents like you two, they would not have allowed y'all to come down. It would have been just teammates. It would have been like kind of like the family of Indiana basketball would have been participating, not people that played against them. Our respect for each other is so strong that we'd go to St. John's to honor Chris Mullin for all that matters, because we're respecting, the process, and vice versa, But once again, that's George, Gill, and all those coaches teaching us how to be sportsmen, and we have that in our DNA. It might not show because we're elbowing a guy in the face. You help him up though afterwards, right, Les?
That's true. That's true.
Pat
him on the back, say, now you know how to do it the right way,
Yeah.
That's a great point, though. I didn't even realize that until you just mentioned it. At the Raleigh thing, we were in the place, right? We were in there.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yo, I forgot too. Yeah.
And it's the honor. Yeah, but we honor each other by supporting each other. And
Right.
we could go further and talk about his stats and I dunked on this guy, but no, we honor each other because we respect each other. Nothing
Yeah.
else. You don't need to know nothing else. Everything else is private stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And
and Blue, the funny thing is, man, I was supposed to be on that team with them motherfuckers.
Really?
When E and all them and Riley and Earl Fuller transferred back, George said to me, he said, I know you're not you're upset with being at Hartwick. He said, I can hook you up, man. You can go back to LIU. And I told my father said, well, if you want to do that, man, I'll support you, but if you run, you may always run. And that's the day I became a man.
Yeah.
That's the day I became a man. And I stayed about. I wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame at LIU. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have done all the things I did at Hartwick at LIU. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got my degree on time. I was 18 credits behind my freshman year. I graduated on time with tuition credits, man. So I grew up.
It worked out.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and it happened like that for a reason. But it's like, and once again, it's like that, like we're crossing streams, and he almost made it cross, and we joined back with us,
Right.
and that would have been crazy because tell him Les, but because we crossed streams 5 years prior, right, Les?
Yeah.
5 years prior, well, more than that. Because it's like freshmen in high school. But when we were in junior high school, we all were in junior high school together.
Yeah, that's right.
Leslie, me, Riley, in the same community, maybe about 3 blocks away from where we live, who was supposed to go to school with us as well, eventually at Erasmus, because Erasmus was our school. So us 3 were supposed to go to Erasmus. That would have been there with Felix Tertullian. Remember Felix?
I remember Felix. Yeah.
As well as Andre Gaddy, who was at Erasmus, and one other person, Les Setter, and Calvin Hicks. All of us. Our school is Erasmus High School.
Yeah.
We would have beat like Duke. You kidding me? I mean, I'm serious, man. It was like, I mean, what if me and Felix are playing point guard?
That's the difference between then and now. Because back then we didn't force that issue. It wasn't like, I'm gonna go get Les and recruit this guy. These guys now, they buddy up. I'm getting this guy, that guy, that guy to go play with me. We all just stayed our own course and did our own thing.
Yeah.
Going back to LIU though, George Merton should be in the Hall of Fame. LIU. George Merton sent a bunch of guys there.
Bunch of cats. Yeah.
Oh man.
Every single one of us, basically, and the sad part is his son actually was, concerned. He said that, like my dad has to get his due because of the things that he did. And it wasn't just basketball. He said it was cultural things. George started the Restoration Drum and Bugle Corps.
Right.
That used to see like on Stuyvesant Avenue, and they're like, and it was like, but it was serious business, and and they represented like in parades and stuff like that. But it brought a community. It brought some sense of some kids that might have been wayward and they weren't athletes, to have some other kind of structure.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And he needs to be, represented for that. And I found out later on in life, it's like one day, it's like George was talking to me, and we're talking about life, and he's like, your grandmother wouldn't like that. I'm like, what do you know about my grandmother? He said, your grandmother went to Bridge Street Church in Bed-Stuy and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, man, I know your grandmother. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So, and it's weird because I feel like he was kind of looking out for me all along, like he knew who I was, and it's really weird. And I think, like Les, I think he knew your family too.
Yo, you know what he told me? He said, man, he said, first of all, son, you know why I never hit you? And I was like, because I know your father, okay? And I used to look up to him, and da-da-da, and I don't think he'd appreciate that, okay? So you just keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah, he was looking out. George and I had a strange relationship early on because, you know, at the time I played with Gil, right?
Right.
We used to practice together. So I knew George. He knew of all the players. We all did everything together. Mm-hmm. But I used to always talk to him. But somehow, because Gil wasn't the most verbal guy.
Right.
Other than that. So George used to tell me stuff. I mean, George was the first person who told me about Juneteenth.
Yeah.
He was the first person to tell me about, he said, son, do you know anything about martial law? You know, and at that time, I'm 15, 16. I mean, I ain't thinking about no martial law.
Right.
And when I got older, and I said, man, this guy, you know, he was telling me stuff that, you know, that's really coming to light now as I got older.
Yeah.
Right.
As time went on, I got married, had kids. I would run into George down at Junior's. He was sitting in that little corner in the back.
That was his spot. Yeah.
And we'd sit there with him, and we'd be talking for hours, man. And George would be all over the place, but it was just listening to an encyclopedia. You know, he's just giving you knowledge, and I'm like, man, to have somebody in your life like that, you know, is the blessing.
Yeah.
And with all the guys, you know, with Gil and Rap and all those guys, even guys that we didn't really play for or play with, they were part of us. You know, they're a big part of us and who we are. You know.
Yeah.
And
you know what the good thing was, I think also, is the older we got, the more respect they had even for us. But it was through them also that we learned how to carry ourselves, you know, between our families and them. And they were like, yeah, that's my guy right there. Yeah.
And he adjusted, or rather they adjusted how they spoke to us as we got older. So the conversations kind of changed into a more, you know, banter back and forth. Like, I think that they were expecting to get like for us to participate more in those conversations instead of George telling you, like, use an example of Juneteenth. Like, what's your perspective, Eric? You know what I mean? Like, don't just let me tell you what's going on. You know, it's like, son, you know, you got to have an opinion, you know? And I'm like, well, George, you know, but he's learning, I'm learning to communicate of subjects other than basketball in a manner to give an opinion. Because you go up into that cultural center where his office was, and, you know, people going in and out. I would sit up there for 3 hours with him, and I'm part of the conversations, and I'm just listening, but I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those guys, because you don't know who comes downstairs, you know, Fred Thompson, the CEO of Restoration Corporation. And he's like, hey, Eric, you know, and I'm like, well, he's talking to me like I'm, you know, an adult, and good, but you feel important enough to participate in talking. And that shy person, because you know you're younger, not because you're shy, but you start saying, I have to speak the way they speak. You know, I have to have adult conversations, and those were sneaky ways of learning that other than ways that we've learned from other things as well. But it served a purpose for a lot of people that paid attention. That's why I was talking about Zeke from the Tomahawks. Like yesterday,
I remember Zeke.
He played for George.
Yeah. I remember Zeke.
You know? And he was, and I'm gonna tell you, Zeke was wild, man. You know.
I remember Zeke. Zeke, there was a movie in East New York, right under the L. There used to be a movie theater over there. Mm-hmm. And Zeke was like, yo, come to the movie. Let's go to the movies tonight. Right? Come to the movie. Tell everybody to come to the movie. So we go to the movie. Zeke is collecting he's in the box collecting the tickets. Like, you paying Zeke to go into the movie. I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but something is not right. You know? You know? So we all got in for free. He just let us all in, but it's like, this dude is actually collecting the money, you know? But he was, you know what, though? He was the man. Zeke was the man. Zeke was the man.
But I tell you though, the one good thing too about George, man, is like every summer I had a job at Restoration.
Oh yeah.
You know, one year I was I think I was a counselor, right? Another year I was painting brownstones.
You and Sam Perkins.
Sam Perkins, yeah, that's when I met Sam Perkins. Yeah. Another year I did a survey of vacant buildings in Bed-Stuy. and I ended up writing a paper at Hartwood College about that shit, man, and I got 3 credits for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
funny because, and I remember that because Les was painting like the building across from his window, and I could see him and Sam Perkins painting. And I was working for him, but I was in the office,
Yeah,
you know. And that
Yeah.
wasn't no preferential treatment, Les. So don't say that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were in air conditioning. We was outside busting our ass sweating.
Hey, let me ask you a
Well-
question. Did you get a check at the end of the week?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
And plus, I learned how to do a scaffold. I learned how to come down to, it was a skill. It was a skill I learned.
I hear you. Yeah. But it's like, but all those are all of the things that he provided for the community, and he did it, and you know, his marriage failed, and things happen in his life that
He sacrificed a lot for us.
yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys do that all over the country in all kinds of activities and stuff. But so we're specifically talking about George because that's our concern. But people like George, they don't get compensated for what they do, and never recognize and never get the honoring that is required because they're the database that helps men become that supports men becoming good men, and that during that era, you know. I'm pretty sure there's, you know, people that do that for women and whatever the case may be, but you have to get recognized for it. And the only way to do so is our word of mouth because there's no true measurement and reward for what they do. People like that, you know, they have to be recognized by the community while they're living, you know, give them their flowers while they're here, you know, and, but we always, and you know, it's funny, we always say this, but we never get it right and do it, you know.
Hey, there's the questions now or at this stage in our lives, in my life for sure, that I would love to have those guys here because it'll be a different conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I would want to know, you know, what drove them to do what they did. How did, you know, because it had to come from their heart, and to be able to sacrifice as much as they did without being compensated, like you said, is something, man. Because now they can see the fruits of their labor too. They see all of us. They see all of us are thriving. They see, and it's not just one guy, just not the 3 of us. There's a bunch of guys that lives that they touch that are doing well.
That's right. You know, and for them to see the us as senior citizens, you know, that we're doing all right. You know.
Yeah. And like you said, everybody that has benefited from them, it's not just guys that played for them, it's guys that sat on the other side of the fence that would never try out for Gil, but they learned, you know, and I was saying, you know how many people just stood there and just watched any coach in Brooklyn in that era coach and run their practices in the parks that were going on, and they walked away and maybe started their own thing, and maybe they became a decent referee or coach in their own right.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like the community, the people in the stands benefited from them and their, you know, I guess comic relief that they provided and their seriousness that they took. So as a spectator, there's an expectation. So when you go to Brevoort and you'll watch, and you know Gil Reynolds is playing, his team is playing, you have an expectation. It's like expecting what you expect out of the Nets or the Knicks or the Celtics. When they come into town, you know what to expect. You know, Red Auerbach's going to have them ready. And so, Gil's playing, the place is packed, you know, and that's that the reputation has to be upheld. But they are so good at what they do. They didn't care about that stuff because they were a locomotive, man. They just, you know, trekked forward. They didn't stop and say, you know, thank you for my award, you know, thank the Academy. The hell with the Academy. I got another young man that needs my help.
Right. We talked about it earlier when we spoke, when we talked about how we carried ourselves. It was all because of them.
Yeah.
We won a lot. But there was not a lot of high-fiving and jumping and, you know, clapping.
That's right.
Screaming. We won. We got the trophy. On to the next one.
Right.
You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of craziness going on. And I think that it was drove us to carry ourselves the way we did. Because you mentioned earlier how the way we used to carry ourselves. it was all because of them. The way
Yeah.
they carried themselves. It wasn't.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
thank you for the trophy. Thanks for having us, and we're gonna go to the next tournament. And
And just so that lets you.
And we get ready to do the same shit to you.
But just that you understand, Les, we were having a conversation with John Rushmore earlier, and I said to them, I said, one thing I could always say about them guys and Blue and John, I was saying, as I watched them play, I was always impressed on how they conducted themselves. Out of control. I mean, they act like mature men at 15, 16 years old.
That's true.
You look at the guys that were older, like the George Berrys, Craig Smokes, Fred Mobleys.
Right.
And that's why, man, I love Fred Mobley, man.
Because, I wish he would call today, man.
Yeah.
He told me about you. He said, "Yeah, I would love to see Eric."
Yeah, man. It's like, and it's like, it was a message to us to say this is how you need to conduct yourself. And we did the same thing for the guys that were behind us. And they look up to us like, man, Les, man, he's a gentleman. He's an ace, statesman. And it's like, these are words that carry on to the next guy. Well, I want to be a statesman too. I want to be like, that. That's what I want to be like, And but somewhere along the line, somebody decided to say, I wanted to be crazy and run around showing guns and and conducting myself like that. I'm sorry to put that out. I'm just saying that things have changed. People don't kind of like, they don't want to, they look up to, good players and people like that, but they don't want to emulate them. The looking up still happens, but there's a little piece missing.
There's work involved, and a lot of people shy away from the work. It's easy to act a fool, but it's a little more work involved when you got to be on time or you got to carry yourself a certain way. It's more work involved,
right? And it kind of turns you into a loner because you're like, it's kind of like, man, it's curfew. I got to go because you're doing the right thing instead of saying, let's hang out, let's break curfew. Coach ain't gonna care, and then you're sluggish tomorrow. So.
But you can still have the balance because I think I did both. I think I did a little bit of both. but
I agreed, bro. Agreed.
Right. But on the real tip though, man, like I watch the game sometimes, man, and I get so pissed off because I never saw Dr. J dunk on somebody and be like, your mother, your sister, your father. Come on, man. He pat you on the butt and say, damn, man, you almost got that one, Right. So every time I dunk on somebody, that's what I would do.
There's two things about that, man. I have two minds on that because the thing, I'm like, first of all, the game, this is the first quarter, bro. You still got 3 quarters to go.
Yeah,
and you're exerting energy doing all that craziness, So come fourth quarter, you when you done went across the lane a few times and then left and gave you this and took some of the win out you ain't got nothing left.
Right.
So save all that. My thing was just save all that, bro. Don't need to be
but don't leave this out though, Blitz. Let's add this one in. Anytime during the course of that 40-minute game or however long that game is, doing that, and then meanwhile somebody's taking the ball out and they're running down the other end and you're BSing around and you gotta race to get back instead of getting back the way we know, like you never turn your back to the ball, right? But now you're chasing the ball. So, and it's like, so you're not in a position to play D and you strife your teammates. And now Les gets a foul because I'm celebrating.
Exactly.
Les was back. And it's like, yo, man, you got to get back. So it causes problems, a domino effect, and especially if you're playing against a good team. And I saw that. And it's weird. I have a chart like this on a little pad, like things that I see in games that don't make no sense. And I don't describe them, but I just mark it. And then four lines and then the cross. And it's like number 16 thing. And most of them are about that. Not getting back on D. Those are the things like transitional mistakes I see in NBA games. And I see it, but I'm seeing it in the college game. In the NCAA tournament, they run right back because the game is fast. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? So there's no post-up play. So as soon as the ball goes out of bounds, the guy's racing and taking it out like we're playing, like 5-on-5 in the park. You rush it, get it back in, and you're pushing it down the court. And the guy that you dunked on, he just scored back on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe an and one.
Yeah. So the celebration goes for naught. Yeah. And then what you do, you put an extra gray hair on your coach's head because he's mad because you're acting immature. And you think, and being that the portal is so open, you kind of like can't say nothing to him because he'll put his name in the portal tomorrow and be out of there.
Yeah.
And the NCAA will give him another year.
That's right. That's right. But you know what though? I'm gonna tell you something, man. What pisses me off about the game today in all levels is no more sportsmanship. There's nothing wrong with when you come down the lane, I knock you on your ass. I'm gonna pick you up. And I'm gonna tell you, if you come back again, I'm gonna do the same thing. But it's between me and you. But there's nothing wrong with me picking you up, man. Why is it? Nah, don't pick. Come on, man. To me, basketball is still a gentleman's sport, man. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with sportsmanship, man. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
I think a lot of it too is you don't have guys. The way you calm a lot of that down is got to be done internally. Mm-hmm. So my thing is always like the players got to pretty much control themselves. So if you celebrating, unless you celebrating and E runs down the floor and gets a basket, I'm on you. Like, yo, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah.
But you don't have that now. Guys don't even talk to each other, like you said. So ain't nobody gonna get on anybody.
Yeah.
And like you said, the coach can't get on him because the coach got to recruit him every year because the coach want him to come back.
Right.
As if I'm there, I'm like, dude, you killing me, man. You got to get back. All this celebrating and yelling and screaming. And then he's
do that later. Yeah, celebrate. Yeah, celebrate in the shower, after the game. But it's crazy. It's kind of like the terms of war, right? The Geneva Convention, how you conduct yourself in war. You don't commit war crimes. And so not being a sportsman, like Les said, that's like a basketball sports crime because you can use, because it's funny. It's like you run and help your teammate up and coaches make you do that. When your teammate falls on the ground, everybody should run there to help him up. And that's what you see. But it's like that sportsmanship. You're not, by turning your back, you're waking the lion versus I help you up. And that I might psychologically be working on your mind by helping you up. Come on, man.
Yep.
We collided, we tied the ball up. And we're both getting up. If there's nobody around, we help each other up.
Yeah. That's for sure, E, because I'm sure there's no way that if somebody goes across the middle and Les knocks them on their butt and helps them up, that guy's got to be thinking, this dude just knocked the crap out of me. He's helping me up. This dude is mentally, something might be wrong with this guy. You know what I mean?
Right, but so you have him thinking.
He knocked me down, then he's going to help me up.
Right, because he had him thinking now, and when he comes in that hole again, he think he can go there comfortably because this guy is so nice to me, and then Les punches it in the stands, Yeah, but that's the psychological warfare.
Right, but also I whispered in his ear, said, you come back down here, I'm gonna do the same shit. Yeah.
But he should be saying things to you in a basketball sense, nothing personal, but it said, man, I'm coming again. Here I come. You knock me down again. I'm coming again.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'm gonna tell you something, man. And this is the book of Les, the Bible, right? Between here and the waist, right? Open game. You hit me in my nuts. You hit me in the face. You better come and say, "Yo, you all right?" Because that means that you meant to do the shit.
Right.
If you hit me in the face, you hit me in my nuts. That means that you meant to do it. If you don't say, "Yo, man, you all right?" See, I take that shit personally. I'm like, oh shit. So now, I'm not gonna fuck you up now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me, that these in here, yo, big man, put them elbows down. I say, yo, man, where did I hit you? I hit you here.
Right. That's a good point.
Open game.
Yeah.
Hit you in the nuts. Are you okay? Hit you in the face. Yo, you okay?
Right.
That's it.
If I hit you in the face, it was a mistake.
Yeah. And I want to know, are you okay?
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And your intentions, and even the referee, as they know and see how the game is going, they see the kind of player you are, that you have no intent. And that was easy to decide. But now there's so much like aggravation in how player plays that their anger comes out from tying the ball up. The goal is to tie the ball up and hold it,
Right.
not to tie the ball up and rip it out of your hands after the referee blew the whistle for a timeout. Then the play is over. But it's like I have to be the one that gets up with the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? The whistle has been blown. The referee makes a judgment call. I'm done. On to the next play. You know, and it's kind of like, but for me, I have the hard time that I have with the whole thing is I don't talk on the basketball court other than my teammates. I don't say shit. I don't get into confrontations with my opponents, because I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and bust his ass because at least back in the day, I'm afraid George's going to yell at me for running my mouth. It's like, go out there and and forget playing for Gil, because I've seen guys play great, like Cortez. He used to play for Gil. I've seen him play the best D in the world on somebody. And this was at Jeff. And but he tried to get the offensive foul, and the referee called it on him that he had went underneath the guy. So as the timeout was called, as the guys were running to the bench, Cortez is yelling back at the ref, like, why did you see I was in spot, da-da-da. He sat down and he's like, and Gil starts talking. He's like, son, this is what I'm saying. If you do that over there, and he pointed, and everybody turned and looked that way, and then a backhand came back on Cortez and smacked him in the face. And I was like, whoa, and that's when you said, Blue, nobody wants to play for Gil because they're afraid of that. But I'm just saying, they even down to things like that, they were astute to say that's not your place to take on that referee. If you had been, and that's it. And they're guiding you. Whereas like we don't have kids being sportsmen, and we don't have their coaches monitoring your players so that they maintain a good sportsman type mentality. It's like you said, there's so much pressure on them to not lose a player, to win, and to get their endorsements, to do all those things that's not a priority. Those things are not a priority anymore.
The separation right now, there's not much of a separation between the players and the officials. Because when we played, the officials being an adult, you don't speak to an adult a certain way. You don't, my interaction with Buddy Keaton is different than my interaction with you as a teammate. So I can yell at you, but I ain't gonna go yell at Buddy's a man. He's a grown man. We always felt uncomfortable yelling at a grown man.
Absolutely.
But now, kids feel they can talk to anybody anyway.
Yeah.
So there's really no separation as far as the way it was when we were playing, because I'm just not going to address him in a way that I'm dressing less.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you've seen signs of it changing over the years.
Yeah. Plus, these kids today, they got a crazy father in the stands who's cussing the ref out too. I mean,
and we've seen the change, right, Les? Because it's gotten worse and worse. That to the point where people, swinging on referees, running after them after the games, and then the players doing it. And, it's weird because the people that are always complaining at that level, they're the worst player on the team probably. And they want justification for why their child is not playing well. And instead of saying, keep your mouth closed and do what you got to do. And I always say, almost every show, right, Les, I say this, those parents that are yelling and screaming like that, they're not going to open school night. They're not yelling at the math teacher. Ain't got nothing to say to the math teacher, man. Why is my son getting a 70? Nah, it's more, why isn't my son getting 70 minutes of playing time in a 40-minute game?
Exactly.
And it's because he's not good. And if you say that, then they go to administration. You're saying bad things about my child. But the math teacher's saying your child, he's never going to, become anything. Minority kids, he's never going to become anything. But you're going to end up being a rapper or something. And you don't get backlash for that, but you yell at a coach because your son gets tackled in a game and he takes him out, and it's a problem. I mean, it's a misdirected focus that's happening, and it's interfering with the activities that are going on, whether it be extra activity or school. They don't pay attention. And that's what happens in all situations, that the inmates end up running the asylum. And it's happening in schools, but now they're banning books. It's happening in situations in sports where, the kids think they can say anything to anyone. And in my
Mhm.
whole career of everything, I have only got one technical foul in my whole career, playing, coaching, everything. And when I got the tech, it was the funniest technical foul ever. Team has black uniforms, our team. And it's first game my mother ever saw Amanda play, Les. And it was in Freehold, New Jersey. And she's playing, and the ref made a bad call. So I said something. And so the referee disregarded me. And he refs all the games all the time. So I said, yo, Jack, what the F are you doing? And he turned around and gives me a tech. And he walks over to the table, and the place was quiet. And he said, technical foul on black coach. Because we had black uniforms. And I said, and yes, I am black. And the whole place started cracking up laughing. But that's the only tech I've ever gotten. I don't have, because George taught me this a long time ago. There's absolutely nothing that you need to say to a referee. Nothing. You should not be having an interaction. He is like a cop standing on the corner. I can live my life and do what I got to do without having interaction with. He's monitoring things. I'm playing the game. Right, and I got to follow the rules, and he's monitoring the rules. That's it. I mean, it can get more complicated than that, but I'm just saying in basic senses, that's what it is.
Yeah. I wish I could say the same about myself, but I got a lot of texts.
Got a bunch.
Yeah, I got a lot of texts, man. Yeah, but then I decided to turn it over and just like I would tell the rep, I said, hey man, you missed that call, man. And say, hey, I don't play a perfect game, so da da da. Next play down, I get an M1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's wisdom, man. That's wisdom, man. Yeah. You got smart at it, and better at it.
It went from me being Rasheed Wallace to like just being that guy. Like, man, less is playing today. It's gonna be a good game. That kind of thing, Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're human beings, and there's a way to approach them, just like anything else. If my thing was if a call was made and I thought they missed it, I wouldn't tell them. But I would come down the next time and try to force the issue again to make them make a call. Make them make that call.
I got you.
Because it's not going to happen 2 times in a row. They're not going to miss the call 2 times, the same play 2 times in a row. You know what I mean? So
but I used to,
and that's different though. Being a point guard, you have control of the game because you got the ball in your hand. You're like, okay, I'm gonna show you right now. It's the same play. Okay, what you gonna do?
Yeah. But as being like a off person on the wing, I was slick. You got to be we're like snipers, right? So we got to be slick. So you get you try to gain a relationship with them. And so you say stuff like, damn, I fouled him. Damn, and the referee see that you acknowledging his call was right, and then before you know it, you're like, go, and when you pass him on the timeout and it says, man, your partner missed that call, didn't he? And then just look at him, make him laugh or something. And so then now you have a relationship. You've created the beginnings of a relationship. And, if I happen to know his name, like if it's Buddy, I'm like, Buddy, he's holding me. I'm not going to say, hey, ref, because it's impersonal, right? So
that's one of the tricks that I learned was when you go out there and you get that name, right? So if it was Jack, I say, Mr. Jack, he could you keep an eye on him because he's grabbing my jersey.
That's right.
But anybody if you meet anybody and you remember their name, it's big to that person.
That's true. That's true. Right? Yeah. So
now I know that your name is Jack, and I'm putting Mr. on the front of it.
Yeah.
Now,
that's true.
I'm going to get the benefit of the doubt,
because the interaction is going to be different, right? The interaction is going to be a little different, so that you can. So now you're starting to control your own narrative as you're playing and negotiating things. So now when you say, if that guy's holding me, and if the referee sees you smack his hand off, he might make an assumption, he's holding, he's right. That whistle. And you'd be like, yeah, you don't even look at the ref. Don't acknowledge like thank you or nothing like that, but just keep it going because now he's on guard. Now it's on guard. And it's like, I got him. I got him, man. I'm snake charming him, that's the game. But that's the game. But you know what? But they're refraining from doing because that's like people complain about people saying stuff like, what do you call it? It's like when you fluff. you fake a offensive foul, like they got
When you
that. They got,
flop, yeah,
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 when you
yeah,
flop,
yeah.
not a flop.
Mhm.
And it's like, but now it's like they're kind of like saying you're not. It's illegal in the game for you to try to manipulate the referee and fake him out. You know what I mean? Because you get penalized for that. So if I
Right.
fake out the ref and say that it's a flop, then I could be penalized by that. And it's like, but that's part of the game. Me making influence you to think that I got fouled is part of the game.
Right.
It's all about approach. With anything, man, it's all about approach and how you approach them. You know, because as an older player, my thing was a coach. You know, I would tell the ref, "Yeah, this is a good one y'all got today. You know, we watching the game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good one. You know, be ready to run up and down the floor because we taking off. Both teams is taking. You know, stuff like that. As opposed to going in on them right away. How you missed that goal?
Right. That's true.
That ain't gonna get you no calls in the future.
Right,
You know?
exactly. Well, I always beckon it to this. Damn, hey baby, how you doing? My name is Eric versus damn you hot. Look at your ass. You know, it's like this your approach, man. Like what's gonna get you to what's gonna get them to turn around and talk to you? You know, that's all depends, man. You know, but it all depends on who you're saying that to. If somebody's desperate, they'll take that crazy conversation too. So that's the risk that you're taking. But I'm just saying, my approach is always the kind approach. That's because that's who I am anyway. So I use my attributes to my benefit, you know. Whereas Les uses his, you use yours. But the overall thing is people are out of control and how they do it, you know. Yeah. And it'll get better.
Yo, so we're gonna wrap this up though, Blue. But a couple of things I wanted to ask you, man, was first of all, where do you live now?
I'm in the Poconos.
Poconos.
Oh, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah, 21 years now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Cool.
That's
cool.
Poconos East and West, right? Those are the high schools, right?
There's a Pocono East and a Pocono West, right?
Yeah, I was gonna do an event there a long time ago, man. Me and me and Carl Anthony Towns' father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Rich Brunson, man. So that's why I kind of know that area, man. It's nice up there, man. You know.
Yeah.
Yo. Do you ever see eBay? eBay lives up that way. You know who eBay is?
Yeah, I know who he is. I don't see him.
He's been up there a lot of years too. Yeah, eBay. Yeah.
Wow.
The other thing is, man, you know, you remember our teammate Donald McAllister, right?
Yeah.
He passed away recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even a month ago, right, Les?
Right. I got my number 44, man, because we went to college together at Hartwick. So all my Hartwick brothers, I sent everybody a number 44 necklace, man. So we wearing his number. Yeah.
Was he sick or?
Well, almost 10 years ago, no, 8 years ago, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, he had a heart transplant.
Oh, okay.
And he had some complications, man, recently, and then he passed away. Yeah.
He's a good dude too, man. I remember that.
Gentle giant, man.
Big Mac attack. Yeah, man. It's weird because everything when I look about my life, man, if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be right now because he was an integral part of like me, getting to Hartwick. When I got my first job, in between my contracts in Europe, his mom told me to go to this all-black agency, and I started working on Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And the first day, that's when I met my wife of 36 years. You know what I mean? So you start thinking about all the things that, Hartwick College, the whole thing, those are things that are a big part of where I am today.
Yeah.
We went through ups and downs, whatever, but I mean, that was my dude, man, Eric know, man, he know how it was. Back in the day, when I used to see him in Wingate Park, he'd be shooting by himself. I thought he was a pro because he looked older. He had a beard, the whole nine, right? And the next thing you know, we're playing, with George Restoration, man. And one day he said, "Yo, man, so where you going to school?" I said, "I think I'm gonna go." I got turned down at George Washington University, man. I think I'm gonna go to CW Post. He said, "CW Post, man, we bust their ass every year." I said, where you go to school? He said, Harvard. I said, where's Harvard? He said, Oneonta, New York. I said, where the fuck is Oneonta? So he said, yo, my coach looking for another big man. So I went up there on a Tuesday, and next thing you know, I said, yo, it was more money. The whole thing was better. I had already signed up for my classes at CLE Post, right? And I was like, yo, next thing you know, now he was a starting center. I took his spot. As a freshman,
but he's
man.
a cool brother. He didn't mind about that because he's a team first
man.
guy.
And we played like the same amount of time anyway. And then the next year I was a power forward from that point on. But yeah, a lot of things in my life because of him, man. You know.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like that once again, they're crossing the streams. You know, because my it's weird. My experience with Don. Les and I used to play for my father in the Kingsborough psychiatric ward on Clarkson and like in Flatbush. And there was a gym. Yeah, there was a gym there. So we used to play. And this was like 1971, 70, around that time. And one day we were waiting everybody to come for practice. And my dad, me, and another one of our friends was in the gym. And this guy looked like a grown-ass man. And I was like 12, 11 years old. I thought I was good, you know. I get on the court and we're playing 2-on-2. My dad's playing, just waiting for everybody to get there. And this guy is like rock housing me, like, you know, as if I'm playing against Lawrence Taylor, man. It was crazy. and it was Don. And it was like, he was big as hell. His ankles were about the size of pencils. And very kind guy, man. But once again, it's like we crossing paths with each other and end up playing with each other, you know, playing against each other in high school, you know, but it's the world of basketball or youth sports has a very weird way of, you know, sending you signals through your journey. And I guess we don't notice them until now, right? And all the things we're talking about are bringing that to light, man. And
the big thing, relationships, man. I mean, look at us now. You know, 50 some odd years later, and we still, you know, these are lifelong relationships that you establish. We weren't thinking of that when we were younger. We was just, you know, being teenagers or whatever. But as life goes on, like, man, I known this dude for over 50 some odd years, you know?
Yeah.
So I think one of the times I saw you, Les, was we were going to a party and some kind of event in Manhattan. I was parking my car. You was going this way and I was going that way. And we spoke, and you said you were coming back to the event. And when the event happened, I didn't see you, you know, because it was an event. So it was a lot of people. I think that was the last time I saw you. And that had to be 15, 18 years ago, something like that. Because I don't remember seeing you other than that. I don't remember seeing you. You know?
Well, the LIU thing that we were talking about.
The LIU thing. I hadn't seen you, and I hadn't seen Eric until the LIU thing as well.
Yeah, since like back to maybe 1980 or so. You know?
Right.
Hey, man. And it's crazy, but that's what everybody's like that, man. It's like, and that's why.
Weren't you at that thing in Staten Island when George had that
Right.
Because Willie was there with his daughter.
We got the shirts. We got
shirts. Living Legends. The Living Legends.
It's right there. It's right there.
What's the date on
there? It is.
What's the date on there? Because there's a date on the shirt, I think.
2006.
2006. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah, and that was the summer after I got sick. Because I got sick on St. Patrick's Day 2006.
Right.
And then that summer, that's when we did that thing, man. You know, with Willie. You know, and it was at Reese.
At Reese.
That's right. It was Reese.
Yeah, because my arm was messed up then. My hand was still here, but my arm was messed up, man. And that Willie had his daughter, man, who ended up being nice too. His daughter had skills, man. Yeah, man. You know, so that's cool, man. So, but listen, Les was right, man. Let's wrap this up, man. Hey, Henry, man, I swear, man, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you today. We've been, speaking like since 4:00, quite honestly, you and I, you know, but that's good because,
Yeah.
It's a needed conversation that we have, and sharing information. I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experiences with us today. You know?
Yeah, man. Yo, Blue, you've always been a class act, man. You up here in my book, man. You know.
I appreciate that, bro. I thank for you guys having me on, man. And the best part about it is now that we all got numbers, we all connected, and 53 years won't go by without us being linking up.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, another 53 years.
Another 53 won't go by.
Yeah, exactly. And just being able to keep that level of communication going for a multitude of reasons, you know. And also to maybe hook up and get to know our families a little better than what we know.
Yeah, man.
Because that's the extension of who we are, and why not let them benefit too? Let them hear some of the stories, you know.
Yeah, I gotta let y'all get in on my grandson, because he's telling me last week, because he hoops, right? And he's like, he's gonna give me buckets. He like, you couldn't do nothing with me. So I'm like,
what?
I'm gonna have to show you a little something, man. You know.
Yo, you look like you can still go, man. You look good, man.
How old is he?
Don't be fooled, bro.
But how old is he? How old is he?
He'll be 14 in a couple of weeks, actually.
Oh, he's a trash talking age. I got you. Yeah, we'll take care of that. We'll take him in the back of the barn and give him an education, man. But it's fun. But you know what works? Them articles, man. You know, when it's like when I send people articles about them and they show them their grandkids kind of like shut up. Like, dad was, grandpa was in the newspapers, man. Maybe I better, maybe I got to take this back. Hey, grandpa, you was nice,
Yeah.
The last conversation I had with Ricky Jarvis, and he was saying, yeah, man, I really, we love watching you play, la la la. And I was saying, yeah, because my kids play. He said, man, I need to speak to your kids, because I'm sure they don't know how nice you were.
Yeah, and they don't, because we don't have the cameras, the cell phones, and the camcorders. They weren't existing in our time, and so everything is more, of a wisdom conversation, newspaper article type of thing. Maybe you're in a couple of magazines or something, but and they don't honor. And even if you proved it to them, they don't honor it because it's not on YouTube. Because YouTube is like that's what do you call it? That's Britannica. That's a Britannica book, and so so that's their new encyclopedia. So they don't believe it. If Google didn't say it, it's not true.
That's true. That's true.
But we can get Google to say it. That's the funny thing, Henry Blue Dillard was the man. And if Google said, if Siri says that, then maybe he'll believe that.
I know, right.
Then it says, if Siri knows who you are, then there's something to be. I better shut up, Grandpa. So listen, man, it's really great to have you, bro. You take care of yourself, man, and we'll definitely be in touch and have you on maybe in the future for some other events as well, bro.
Nice, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Okay,
my
man.
brother.
Take care.
Much